on the Missouri River, one of the multiple rivers in Missouri. Welcome to Jefferson City, of course, the home of the Missouri Tigers. Welcome to Mizzou Hockey pregame, brought to you by Jim Butler Centralia, the exclusive automotive partner. I'm Knapp and Nick alongside me, Jake Fuller, and welcome for the second and final game of the series between Mizzou and SLU. Mizzou entering this contest 3-0, meanwhile SLU 1-1. So what do you think, Jake? I mean, yesterday it was a pretty chippy game, to say the least. I mean, we sort of talk about it yesterday during the post game with the chippiness, the multiple shots on goal. So sort of give me your impact and sort of give me your point of view as someone that played hockey, like the chippiness. Sort of
obviously yesterday, very physical game. 30 penalty minutes out of Missouri. I believe 24 out of St. Louis. I mean, we've got guys getting in each other's faces. You have some pretty close calls on fights like we did yesterday. You can definitely tell they're going to come back today. They're going to fight hard again. But, man, got to cut those penalties down. Yeah,
we'll get to that in just a sec, but I just want to make sure everyone understands those 30 penalty minutes, it was very distributed among the team. So Zimmer, Trainer, Austin, Hemmer, they're all distributed. So definitely something to keep in mind throughout today's contest. But before we get going with the keys, I want to talk about that first line. I mean, we talk about the first line. We mentioned it yesterday with Andrew Knapp as one of our player profiles entering the contest. But sort of let's talk about this first line. I mean, you see Andrew Knapp, Nick Spolec, and then Danny Rudman. Danny Rudman scored a hat trick yesterday and probably one of the most important goals in that contest. But sort of just taking a look at the stats. I mean, you look at these numbers and you take a look. Nick Spolec, I mean, look at this. 3 goals, 10 assists. Andrew Knapp, 6 goals, 5 assists, and then Danny Rudman, 5 goals. 3 of them came yesterday, and then 3 assists. So, Jake, what do you take away from that? Just those totals on that one line alone.
Man, I mean, when you have one line contributing that much to your play, I mean, it really shows you how crucial those top guys can be. Yesterday, 6 goals for Missouri in their win. 5 of them came off that top line.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it really shows you've got 3 guys out there stepping up every game, coming to play, all high up on the rankings for MACHA point leaders.
Right.
Hopefully we're going to see him come out again today. Hopefully maybe we see some other names scoring.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that because we saw this last year. If we're going to bring the NHL into this, we saw it with Colorado last year when they went up against Seattle in the playoffs. So, I mean, you got McKinnon, you got Rantanen, and you got Arturi Lankinen on that first line, but you didn't see much contributions from the rest of the lines.
Yeah.
And that could be a problem moving forward, you know? And what do you say to that? Like sort of distributing, everyone scoring and generating those opportunities. How do you sort of like do that?
Really, it's just going to come down to those shifts. I mean, yesterday there were a lot of guys playing, shifts getting up over a minute, and you're not psyching your guys that much. You're going to have guys who are out there for, a third of the game.
Right.
Or, sorry, more than that. But, yeah, I mean, really kind of cycling those guys in, making sure we always have fresh skates out there on the ice. Got to have different guys taking shots. As much as I like to see how much this first line's producing, you got to get those second and third lines more involved.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's almost like having Nugent Hopkins, McDavid, and Draisaitl on the same line in a sense. But let's sort of talk about like what happened last night, what transpired, because not only was it chippy, but you talk about Mizzou that came out firing at all cylinders. Danny Rudman scoring that goal, first goal of the game with less than 2 minutes into the period. But then you sort of go to that second period. It's almost like something shifted, the momentum shifted to SLU because Mizzou didn't score until 20 seconds left, but sort of talk about how do you sort of get that momentum back after getting completely outplayed besides that last minute?
Well, I mean, after that quick start, Missouri took some tough penalties last night, things you don't want to see. And I think kind of the mood just came down a little bit. But after that Danny Rudman hat trick goal, things started to kind of come back. Momentum started to swing a little bit more in the Tigers' favor. And I really think it's going to be big things like that. It's going to be keeping your head up, making sure, even when you're taking those tough penalties, even when you're getting hit every play, losing the puck, keep your head up. We're still the Missouri Tigers.
Right.
And got to keep that identity going.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because that has everything to do with the physicality. Although you're going to take those penalties here and there, that is your identity, is physicality. You got the bodies to do that. You got to get the shots and goal. They did that last night, and they were able to obviously use their speed. They did that last night. So obviously using all 3 components of your identity to get a team victory, it happened last night. But I will say this. When you score like Danny Rudman did with 20 seconds left in the second period to earn that hat trick, his first of the season, that definitely does something for your team. I mean, whether you score early in the period or very at the end, it does something to you. So sort of talk to me, what clicked from the second period to the third period? Because it looked like a completely different team out there.
I mean, you do mention anytime you score a goal like that, no matter how early or late in the period it comes, it's going to be a momentum shifter. But I think for them to be able to go back into that locker room after the second period, have had a tough 19 minutes of hockey and then an amazing goal there at the end, it really kind of gets the energy buzzing in the locker room. Guys come back out totally refreshed for the third period, and I think we definitely saw that last night.
Yeah, just Andrew Knapp and Nick Spolec obviously scoring last night, and obviously all just throughout that first line, everyone contributing. But I sort of want to let's talk about the 3 keys we're going to bring to the table. So Jake, I want you to go first, sort of take a look at these 3 keys, sort of break it down for us.
Yeah, my first key last night, going to be my first key again tonight. Keeping those penalty minutes down. I mean, Missouri took 30 minutes of penalties. You can't be having guys off the ice for that long. It's just not going to work out, especially when we start getting into these physical games. My second key of the game tonight, I've got maintaining control in the neutral zone. There were a couple points last night where the Tigers started to take the puck out, get on an offensive break, and just kind of lost control, whether it was off of a hit or just, getting a little into the corner, not being able to pick up that puck. You want to be able to cut us into the offensive zone, and in order to do that, you're going to have to control the neutral. And then the third thing, setting screens in front of the net, playing against a goalie like Jandova. I mean, she's so quick. She's got such good hand-eye. You're going to have to kind of take away her vision, cut down when she can see the puck. We got a lot of guys on this team who can shoot. We're going to need some guys who can screen, make sure she's not watching at all times. Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the screens, because that third goal that gave Rudman that hat trick, that was a beautiful screen by Knapp, set in the beginning of the net. I mean, granted, it was in the low slot. It was 3 against 1. Jandova was basically in an island by herself. But having said that, when you get pressure like that in the low slot, your chances are pretty good of capitalizing on that. But you saw a lot of chances last night that were coming from in the soft areas of the zone. Jandova was able to see it fully and was able to cover. So, but having said all that, she is a very good goaltender. I mean, she showed it last night, but when you get low slot chances like that, and even high slot at times, especially like Jack Hazelton, that dude can shoot a missile, okay? Yeah. I mean, we saw it a couple of times last night. I mean, it's obviously going to work out in your favor. Now, going to my keys, and you mentioned it for your very first one too, stay out of the box. I mean, when you have 30 minutes of penalty minutes, that's a lot of minutes. I mean, Gumby's got their fair share last night. They got their fair share last night. But having said that, penalty kill, they were 9 of 11. So although that is a very good conversion rate, that's still saying 11 total penalty kills that you had to have. That's a lot. They were 3 of 7 on the power play, which is obviously something you want to improve on. You want to capitalize on those man advantages, but you can only do so much at times. I thought they looked really good on the power play overall. They got a couple of great shots on net. Yeah, definitely.
Knapp was definitely one of those. I think it was the 3rd power play they had of the game. He was by himself in the low slot, but Jandova, there was no screen, so she was able to see it right through. All right, and then talking about the second one here, set the tone. Just like last night. You come out, Danny Rudman gets a goal with less than 2 minutes in the game. That's what you got to do. You got to set the tone, get yourself out there, use your speed, establish a physical presence, and get those shots on net. You got to be able to do all 3 of those, take any momentum SLU has, and just bring it to you. Remember, you won last night, you got to bring it into today as well. That's how you're going to be able to win games like that. And number 3, we said this as well, all lines get involved. Everyone's got to be able to contribute. I mean, granted, Nick Spolec, Danny Rudman, and Andrew Knapp, they have been phenomenal for this team. They have been the heartbeat of this team. However, when you have other lines as well, the Blumenshine line, you got to talk about the Baker line. You just got to talk about the trainer line. I mean, those sort of things like that, you got to be able to generate those scoring opportunities and find the back of the net. Because while your first line is lethal, you got to be able to contribute from other parts of the game. So, having said all that, what do you got for who's winning today?
I've got another Missouri Tigers win coming up today. Yesterday, I think they went out, they looked like the better team. They proved they can look for another MACHA championship this year.
Yeah.
But at the same time, new day, new energy. We'll see, but I like the Tigers today.
I like the Tigers too. I mean, after what I saw last night, I was very close in that score prediction, by the way. I will say this. The 6-4 was very close. I was very close with that score prediction, but I think it's going to be lower scoring. We'll get to that in just a second. But when you talk about what they did last night, they did have a bad second period overall. The penalties just continued to accumulate, and obviously that helps SLU get back into the game. But I think this team, if they can cut down on those penalty minutes, they have the better team overall.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw it with the speed. They outskated them. They basically out-hit them in every single category, and they had better chances than SLU. Now, granted, there were a couple of chances in the second period that Jack Dobbs' vision was completely taken away.
Yeah.
Especially that, I think it was the third goal, in my opinion, the third period. That was just a missile right past him. So, I mean, there's not much you can do about that, especially when it's top shelf like that. But I think overall, you got all three categories that are your identity, and you're able to outclass them in every single way.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be a low-scoring game, in my opinion, compared to my prediction yesterday, that is. I'm going to say 5-2 Missouri win.
Really? I went lower scoring as well, but I had a closer game. I went 4-3 Missouri Tigers win.
Okay. Is it regulation or overtime?
Regulation.
Regulation. Okay. With that being said, everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Jim Butler Centralia pregame. Be sure to follow us on social media, and Adam Lewis and Ian Paprocki will have the call. See you then.